In this video, I want to take a look at a game which I played a couple of weeks ago. This was an over-the-board game, 10-minute game, and I was writing down my moves. So I stopped once I realized that I was just having a very simple technical win. The game started as a Ponziani. My opponent goes knight f6, which is one of the main moves. And here he took on d4, which is not a bad move, but knight e4 is, I believe, the more popular choice. And here, I think e5 is the only move that maintains an advantage for white. And here my opponent played queen e7, which is not a move that I think is very good because it blocked in the bishop on f8. The engine likes this move, knight e4. And after this move, the engine's suggestion is queen e2, which again I don't like because it blocks in the bishop. So I thought, well, why can't you play something like queen c2 instead? So after d5, you can take en passant if you want. But if you capture on c4, to just go back and show you. Then bishop f5 is actually really annoying, because if you go something like queen b3, hitting the pawn on b7, then bishop b4 check, you are defending the pawn, checking the king, developing a piece, and black is just a hidden development. So we have 4 pieces out against 2. This pawn is very nicely defending this knight, so I think that the evaluation is questionable, to say the least. But queen e7, and now I just took the pawn. Knight d5. Here I played a3. The idea is I want to bring the bishop to c4, and after knight b6 I can bring the bishop back and maintain pressure on the f7 pawn. But you can argue that a3 is kind of a waste of a tempo. And also the idea is, well, to stop a knight from coming to this b4 square, either the knight on d5 or the knight on c6. The engine prefers this move, knight c3, which makes sense, developing a piece, attacking the knight. And if you trade, well, then white is just much better. You have this nice pawn chain controlling the center. And now I went bishop c4. Again, I was expecting knight b6. My opponent played bishop e6. And here, an interesting variation is castles. And after takes, the computer really likes this move, bishop e5, which is very strange. And then, the variation just doesn't really make much sense. Back here, the more human response would be to capture the pawn, either with the d pawn or with the knight. Or if you want to sacrifice a pawn, you can go rook e1. That's also pretty interesting. Instead, I went queen to b3. And now my opponent went knight b6. And well, here again the computer likes this, which leads to an endgame that's slightly better for black, although I think I would like this endgame against this particular opponent, which I had some really nice wins in endgames. So, but after this, I went d5, and my opponent took on c4, and I just recaptured, which is probably a good thing, because if I had seen this variation of queen takes b7, bishop takes, and queen takes rook, I would think that white is just winning in this position, but actually black is much better. So clearly I don't understand chess. There's also this other variation instead of taking the knight. So if you go and take the bishop, this move is just giving black an advantage, which I don't know if my opponent would have found it in a blitz game. It's a rather strange move. So if you go something like queen c3, then queen takes, and I mean black is just better. So after I took, my opponent captured on e5, and well, I just recaptured. And here, well, I thought that I was just much better. The move that I missed was bishop d7, which my opponent also missed. I obviously cannot take with the knight because the pin to the king is just holding everything together for black. And if you castle, well, then you just take with the pawn, and black is just fine. Instead, my opponent thought that he was gonna just lose a piece, so decided to just get as much material for it. And well, white is just simply gonna be up a piece. Here, I don't know why my opponent took with the queen. I think taking with the pawn is the practical choice. And after this, well, it's just a very simple technical win. Here, my opponent played a6, which I don't know why you would play it. I'm not actually threatening to take the pawn. If black had played something like f5, well, bishop takes is just a mistake because now it gets trapped. And well, now the computer says that it's just equal, which if you look at the material, it is. So after a6, I played rook c1, and here I decided to stop annotating the game just because I didn't think it's very instructive at this point. It's just a matter of technique. Anyway, I hope that you liked the video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.